Okay, it's 10 o'clock and we'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Monday, May the 16th, County Commissioners. If you all will please stand, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance and then a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For a moment of silence, please. Thank you. The agenda today, we need to amend it on the very last item of request for closed session. We will not need closed session today for either one of those items. That being said, is there any other additions or deletions from the agenda? If not, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in a second. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Likewise. Motion on the minutes from 4/22 and 5/2 work session. You've all had a chance to read those minutes. Are there any corrections or additions? If none, I need a motion and a second to approve.
Motion to approve.
Need a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. All those opposed, same. And public comments, we have, I believe, two people to speak. Ms. Carlson, you're first. If you'd just state your name and who you represent or what you represent.
My name is Joellen Carson.
Lift your microphone. There you go.
My name is Joellen Carson, and I'm here to speak about the Blue Ridge Read. You're probably all familiar with it. We have had a Blue Ridge Read since 2014, and it's actually an initiative across the country for the community to come together in a read, to choose a book that allows them to discuss things that might affect their community, but it's also that shared understanding and building community. So in Allegheny County, that's what we do with the read. We want to build community and encourage reading. And so we've got several events this year, and you might have already seen who the author and the book, the name of the book, that was actually in the paper just recently. But this time it's actually a local author. It's Michael Almond, and the book is The Tannery. This is actually set in Wilkes County, and there's some history there that you probably are already aware of that. And if I were to describe the book, it's a blend of history and mystery and intrigue and also social justice. So there's some difficult parts to it. There's some very interesting parts. I think you'll enjoy the read. We will have several events, and each of these are different, so I welcome you to come to any of these. First of all, the books are available at the library for checkout, or one of our events is actually a book signing with the author at Muddy Creek, and that is on June 26th at 12 p.m. We also have a community conversation, and this is where people can come together to actually discuss the book or just listen, and it can lead into other conversations, and it's always cool because people start to meet people they didn't know. And these reads actually draw people from outside the county, so it's very interesting how each one is very different, and yet it goes towards that goal of reading and serving the community. So the events, besides the book signing, which is June 26th at Muddy Creek, are the Community Conversation, July 15th at 1 p.m. That's at the library. The Book Talk with the Author, which is on Friday, August 19th at 7 p.m. at the library. And then the Saturday talk should be very interesting. It's called Tales from the Tannery. I'm very interested in what that's going to be. It's probably some history, but the fact that it's also called Tales means there's probably a yarn or two in there. So that's August 20th at 1 p.m. at the library. All of these events are free. We are a project of the Allegheny Arts Council, which is also supported by the North Carolina Arts Council and through private and public donations. And this read actually started from a book club. Janet Burgess wanted to do this, and so community volunteers came together. So as we offer these events, they are put on by community volunteers in conjunction with the library. So I have bookmarks so you don't have to remember all of these dates. I'd like to give those to you and share this information.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. David, I believe you're up next.
My name is David S. Hedrick, and I represent a lot of people in this county that frankly didn't feel comfortable standing before you. And full disclosure, I'm also an officer in the Sparta Lions Club. In the fall of 21, the county commissioners were considering the possibility of evicting the Sparta Lions Club from the pavilion, and that leaked out. That concerned a lot of citizens. So on October the 20th, I had published an open letter in the Allegheny News related this situation. Got a lot of very positive response from the citizens in the county, but not a peep from the commissioners. Now, I went to the website for the county, and it lists the commissioners, their address, their phone numbers, their email addresses, presumably so that citizens of the county could communicate with you with the assumption that we would get honest, forthright answers to any questions. So in line with that, on October 22nd, I sent a letter directly to each commissioner with additional comments and a big question: why this harassment? October 22nd, I received one reply, but did not answer the question. In fact, in the reply from this particular commissioner, two statements were factually incorrect. Over the next few months, October to February, the following took place. Over time, the Allegheny County Recreation Committee was down to just one living member. And rather than the commissioners appointing additional members, you appointed yourselves to this Recreation Committee in a secret meeting. And then as the new commission turned the property over to the county commissioners and have abolished the Recreation Commission as we understand it. And as I stated in one of my letters to you, this was all probably legal, but to me it was a morally bankrupt procedure and was not in the best interest of the citizens of this county. Now, for some reason, after 50 years of a good working relationship between the Sparta Lions Club and the commissioners, the county commissioners insisted that the Lions Club sign a short-term lease. At the end of this 5-year lease, it would be on a month-to-month basis, with the commissioners able to evict the club with a 30-day notice. Folks, this is like having a sword of Damocles hanging over you, unknown from day to day what to do. That is no way to treat a nonprofit that has served this community for over 75 years. February 14th, having heard nothing from the other 4 commissioners, I wrote again to all of you with some questions. Only 3 responded, but not one answered any questions, only offered platitudes, opportunity, come speak with the group. Note, one of the 5 commissioners did not respond to either of the missives. February 15th, I sent out another email to all 5 commissioners with a lot of questions. It's been said that all the commissioners expressed no desire for the club to vacate the building, but your actions speak differently. When I was just a wee lad, my mother told me that when someone asks you a question, she said, you should answer to the best of your ability and above all be honest. To do otherwise is rude. The fact that none of you answered any of the specific questions that I asked shows one of 2 things. At best, it shows an indifference to anyone asking you a question. Worst, it shows contempt for a citizen that has the audacity to ask a direct question and expecting an honest, forthright answer. In closing, lest thee esteem me to be thine enemy, consider this. Friends, even the best of friends can have differences of opinion, but they work together back and forth with dialogue and resolve them. But when one treats the other with contempt, therein lies the injury. So here we are, 7 months later, with no resolution to this stalemate. If indeed you support the Lions Club, you should ignore the advisors that are encouraging you along this path and have created this public relations debacle. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. I don't see anybody else is there anybody else for public comments? Just 2 had signed up. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. It's a financial update from Mrs. Ham.
Morning.
Good morning.
I handed out the financial report prior to the meeting. Year-to-date revenue, $17,047,392. That represents 97% of the approved budget for the current year. Year-to-date expenditures, $14,330,848. That represents about 81% of the approved budget. The approved budget for this current year is $17,611,637, and we're about 87.5% into the budget year. The bank balance as of this morning, $15,259,877.01. Bank balance a year ago on May the 17th of 21, $8,860,284.94, and the bank balance as of 5/29/2020 was $4,597,670.32. Our net financials as of today are $2,716,544, and of course our audited fund balance as of fiscal year 21, $5,685,551. Can I answer any questions about the finance report this morning?
Are there any questions?
Okay, your second page is an update to the local option sales tax. I did not have a report on this last month, so you're looking at 2 additional months when looking at these numbers. As of Friday, we had collected $840,982.50. As compared to last year at this time, it was $886,466.82. So it is down just a little bit in comparison to last year. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions?
None.
If not, thank you, April.
Thank you.
Chairman, may I ask a
Go
question?
ahead.
April, I hadn't had an opportunity to talk about this, so I just want to. So we are roughly a month and a half away from the close of the fiscal year.
That's correct.
There will be one more of these at the mid-June meeting to, I guess, see where we're at.
See where we're at financially. That is correct.
So my question, and this kind of makes you think for a second. We have a net financial number of 2.716544 off today's report. And everyone knows that the bulk of the revenues come in the first quarter of the fiscal year. And the remaining 3 quarters, we kind of live off that first quarter influx. Pull out your crystal ball for a second. So what would the thinking be for the expenditures? Because we've already capped out our revenues. We're pretty close on revenues.
Right there.
What would be an estimated next month expenditure number that would, and we're not going to hold you to it, or I'm not going to hold you to it. I'm just trying to figure out in another month what that difference may look like.
Looking back at this report, and we have paid out some of the bigger things the past month, like the capital outlay for the school system, that has been paid out, and that has cleared our bank account. We have we have 4 more payrolls, and we have 2.5 AP runs. I would say 1.8 added on that. I know we do have a little bit more revenue to come in because we'll have another sales tax report. We'll actually have 2 more sales tax reports that will go in this fiscal year because that does stay 6 to 8 weeks behind because of reconciliation with the state. We do not have the PILT money. I know that's not a big one, but we do not have that. And we are expecting another Medicaid hold harmless payment from Department of Revenue. That would be my guess. Our revenues will go up a little bit more, but we got the bulk of our revenues, like Michael said, toward the end of January. We got the bulk of it in August when everybody took the 2% discount with property taxes, and then everything else with property taxes, of course, came in our end of December, 1st of January.
The other question is just to re-identify what is included in the bank balance, just as a reminder of what is included in the bank balance.
Okay. That would be the audited fund balance from last year, our net financials from this year. That would also be the $712,000 we have left in ARPA funding, but we are getting ready to pay out $300,000 of that. It was approved by the board last time. We do have the $2 million in SCIF funds for the courthouse renovation project. We do have the $200,000 capital projects. One's been identified at the transfer facility, and the other one has been identified for the backup generator for this building. So splitting that, $100,000 each. Those are the big ones. Law enforcement did receive, I believe it's $85,000. I'm doing this off the top of my head. $85,000 out of legislative process also. It's different from SCIF funds, but through DPS, they did get an allocation. Off the top of my head, it's between $80,000 and $90,000. All that is included in the bank balance.
And the reason I bring that up is just for clarification. When we talk about bank balance and fund balance, there is a difference in that terminology.
Welcome. Can I give one update too? We have gone through the RFP process for banking services. We will be meeting, representatives from the county manager's office and finance will be meeting with 3 tomorrow afternoon. Just to give you an update where we are on that process. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Carter? April?
Thank you.
Thank you. Facilities update, David Spicer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. Certainly, it's a busy time right now trying to get things sort of squared away. We have had the courthouse, R&D has been there. They did their study at the end of last week. It'll be probably a couple or 3 weeks before we get the results of that. So, but that is in progress so that we can figure out the most economical way of spending those funds that we have been awarded through the state budget. The sheetrock and the plaster work has been completed. When we put the new roof on, that solved our water problem in the stairwells and so forth, and that's been better. So that all looks good. I think that's a well-pleasing thing to get accomplished. Administration building here, we have some work going on in dispatch. That is probably a third done. We have the flooring is here and ready to put that in place, and the sheetrock's up, the walls painted, everything looks really good. The ceiling's all fixed, it's insulated. So there's some progress being made there. Everything looks good there. Transfer facility, we had put out an RFP for the temporary tipping floor, and we received 0 bids on that. So that will be put back out for rebid, and then we will see where that goes. Unfortunately, at this time, late in the game, we will not be able to have that completed in this budget year, so we've got some work to do there. But the temporary tipping floor is a project that'll have to be done before we can do the other. So that's something that we've got to work it out. So the RFP for the tire trailer transportation of those to the recycling place for the used tires, that will be going out at the 1st of June. So we can be getting that back in and have that all in place by the 1st of July. So that's something to look forward to. This time between last month and this month, we have hauled 2.80 tons of cardboard from recycling. We've hauled 5.36 tons of commingle to recycling. So we are still kind of on target for that. With that recycling, I have sent in the final report to DEQ, so hopefully we'll be getting that addition to the 10%, the $3,000. We should be getting that $3,000 back before too much longer. The scrap metal, we hauled 6.15 tons this past week to the recycling place there, which made a gain for the county of $1,239.30. So that's a little something. The fairgrounds, the concession stands are ready. We've done quite a bit of work there. I think the inspector was well pleased with that, except for a couple of items which have been taken care of since then. So it should be ready for the first event. The driveway across the fairgrounds there that go between the field and the horse barn, that's been redone, where there was quite a bit of mud that was there and was causing some trouble. So we have re-gravelled that, so that's all taken care of, and it looks really, really good. So with animal control, the shelter is back open for now. So there is some work that still has to be done there and some decisions that will have to be made on that. But those things are in progress, and we will get those worked out. We had 3 wellness checks. We've had 5 animals picked up. We've had 2 dog bites, one of which some time was spent on and realized then it was actually in Virginia. So 1 dog bite here. That did result in the animal being quarantined by the owner. The owner had the proper paperwork and immunization forms, so that was all well, and it was the owner's dog that bit him. So that was taken care of there. We had 3 dogs that was at large. We'd set 1 trap, which did yield 1 dog. So that dog was taken to the animal shelter as well. The incident, or the concern that was raised on Flint Hill, that was to be taken care of on Tuesday after the last meeting that I gave an update. So that has been resolved. That lady has taken care of those dogs. She took them all to the vet, had them all immunized, and all of them was taken care of and in reasonable health according to the vet. So all that's been done and taken care of. So we had a total of 29 calls and texts. All of them did not necessarily have to have a response of an officer, but what did have, we totaled 34 hours for 1 person in that in a month's time. So everything else is pretty well okay. I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? Thank you, David. Anything else, Mr. Carter, for that? Okay, thank you, David. Dispatch update.
Daniel, he's on a call right now. If we could just come back to that one.
We'll hold that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll hold. General business, item 1, Lions Club Pavilion plaque, Commissioner John Irwin. Go ahead, John.
This was tabled from our last meeting. Had a recommendation from 2 citizens that a plaque be placed on the Lions Club Pavilion area. I gave a proposed or general idea of what the plaque would be and pricing. Now, whenever I discussed this with the Lions Club, I made it perfectly clear that this was too late to get into the budget for this year, and it would not go into the budget until next year. So that would be 23-24 budget. But the proposal would be basically a bronze plaque on a permanent stand or monument so that it would show the significance of the monetary and time and effort that has been placed in the Lions Club Pavilion. Right now, we do have a sign. It was taken down whenever we cut the trees down. Signs over in the ditch. This is something that would be permanent and show what the Lions Club has done for the community. So I would recommend and make a motion that that be approved. We are looking at, I'm afraid to say pricing right now in this inflationary period, but it would be something that we'd certainly have to contemplate sometime in the future.
Discussion, Michelle?
While the Lions Club has done a lot for the community, my only issue is that we're asking the taxpayers to pay for a plaque. I would like to see this plaque happen, but I think that the plaque should be done through donations for people who want to show their appreciation for the Lions Club. I know in the past, the Lions Club, all during my youth, on some Friday afternoons, you come driving through town and they have their buckets there and people would put money in to support the Lions Club. I mean, we could do that as commissioners to show our appreciation to the Lions Club. Possibly have some kind of fundraiser. But while I want to see the plaque happen, I just have a hard time asking the taxpayer to pay for it.
Mark?
I don't mind recognizing them. I kind of think, though, if there's going to be especially tax money involved that would be a future board's conversation for that monetary. And I don't mind showing support for them. Maybe in time we could see if there's private donation. Yeah, I certainly am not favor the idea. Just don't know that making action for this board for future boards responsibility. Right time to do.
Thank you. I think that obviously the Lions Club, they need some recognition, and a plaque is a good way to do that. I think I'm looking at the taxpayers' money. It was not included in this year's budget. I think there are creative ways to raise the money that Michelle's brought up, that I think Mark supports, that I also support looking for donations. But at the same time, I think we need to get a hard figure on what this cost will be. If there's going to be some stand or monument that it'll be mounted in, or will it just be mounted on the side of the building? On the side of the building that shows, that the Lions Clubs use that pavilion for X number of years. That would obviously be a cheaper way to go. But I think that at the same time, the Lions Club needs to have some input as to what they would like to see representative to show the people that the Lions Club has had that facility for X number of years. And I think it's always been the desire of this board, and we've talked about it numerous times, that the Lions Club continue to use that pavilion. The reason all of this has started is insurance-wise, started it, the legality of the land of the building, who owned that, and that was all prompted basically by insurance, by liability. And this board, and through our board attorney, and through a few members of the Lions Club, have spent countless hours going over a lease agreement that the Lions Club had asked for. We did not ask for it, they asked for it. And we've spent considerable amount of time and money trying to come up with a resolution, with a contract that would suit all parties. And there again, this board has been 100% behind the Lions Club using that pavilion, using that building for, as far as I'm concerned, from now on. They just have to sign a lease like any business does, and every so often renew that lease. So I think that this plaque would be well-deserved. I've been around here a long time, and Lions Club's been around here as long as I have, and they've done a great job for the community. So I think that here in the future, we'll come up with a plaque, with a monument, or some way to install that. But I would like for us to look at these private donations, like it's been mentioned, instead of using taxpayers' money. The budget this year has been set, and the way it looks, we're not going to change that at this point. So that's all I've got to add. Heather, if you would like to chime in on anything, or Mr. Carter, please do so. Okay. So, John, what are you exactly asking for? Consensus?
Consensus,
That we come up with some type of?
yes.
I think you've got some pricing on some different
Yeah.
size.
I did have some pricing on the plaque. The only variable there was how we were going to mount it. Were we going to mount it on the side? Were we going to build a something to mount it on, say out of concrete with stone? Now, this has been discussed with Lions Club. The county manager was present whenever I presented it. We went back and forth just to see if they would be interested in it. We had a proposed verbiage on it, but it was agreed that we would get first we had to find out if it was possible. Now, as far as collecting money, we could do that, but you know, we authorized a collection of money for replacement of the courthouse steps about 4 years ago. I know one business donated $500. We don't know where that money is. That is all the prospect that we've got out there. We can start raising funds. Who's going to hold the funds? We're going to put it in an interest-bearing checking account. Who's going to have availability? That enters into it. Of course, now we've got to decide on wordage. We can't get pricing until we determine how we are going to mount it. Is it going to be a pedestal? Is it going to be on the building? As of, about a month ago, that plaque would have cost $499.99 with no shipping. However, it was going to be bronze. It was very nice and had an emblem of the Lions Club on it, but bronze
knows
right
today?
now, we don't know. I don't know. It is all up in the air, but yes, it's a proposal, a consensus is what I believe what we need to go with right now.
I think that we can, we'll ask for consensus, but at the same time, I would like to be sure that the Lions Club is highly involved in this, and we might even have that for a work session one day to have some representatives for the Lions Club, so there's no misunderstanding with the public, with the Lions Club, as to what and how this is going to happen.
And the wording, most importantly, the wording. Yeah.
But this time, I would just ask, is there a consensus on the board that we proceed in the future with coming up with a plaque and a discussion on how it will be installed or mounted
And funded.
and funded? I'm in
Support
favor of that.
I am too.
Michelle
I am.
and Mark. So there's a consensus of 4 of us. Bill Osborne not being here, I'd like to mention that Bill has been very sick. He's in the hospital up in Sparta, but the last email I got, he should be discharged today. So we wish him speedy recovery, and him and Jill. Okay, with that, now Daniel's here. Let's jump back up to dispatch update.
Morning.
Morning.
Sorry, I was running a little behind. I got tangled up in the weeds on some stuff. So Mr. Carter asked me to come today to give you guys an update on how we're getting along with the renovation of the space and you know, how things are going down the hall here. So I don't know if any of y'all have taken a minute to stick your head in there, but the deconstruction is all done and the construction is nearing completion. So we got a little paint touching up to do. The flooring is still yet to be put down, but the walls are built. The rough electrical and plumbing's done, for the bathroom. The overhead soundproofing insulation is installed. So the contractor has told me within a couple of weeks he anticipates completing his portion of that project. Now, there's a lot of portions to this project. I know you guys know that because I've been down here, I think, for the last 10 meetings for RFPs of one kind or another. But the tower construction has yet to begin. And reaching out to the contractor on that, he tells me there's a bolt kit. Now, I'm not a tower guru, but it's got something to do with the foundation, and they're having a hard time getting it in here. So I'm waiting on him to tell me when they're going to get those parts so they can begin the foundation work. The generator portion of that, we did get an update on the timeline. We were at nearly a year lead time on that generator. The contractor, I saw him the other day, and he said now we're at 20 weeks. So 20 weeks is a vast improvement from 54 weeks. So I'll take that every day of the week. And he's actually going to go ahead and get started in the next week or two with his foundation work and under slab wiring and things of that nature. The committee, the 911 committee came together and we picked out a console systems, for the center. They had to be ordered because they're custom built. And they were a 10-week delivery time. That was a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot of moving parts, and we're trying to kind of funnel them all together into that 8 to 10 week from today time frame. There's a lot of cabling that's still got to be done, new equipment, servers and voice recorders and stuff. A lot of the stuff that's over at the sheriff's office now is end-of-life equipment too. Some of those electronic gizmos, and a lot of that stuff's way over my knowledge base, but because they are old and they are 911 eligible expenses, we will be able to replace what we need to when we move, and what a better time to do it with a brand new center than to have nice new shiny equipment too. So everything's kind of coming together. Like I say, we're hinging on the tower construction right now, but we're hoping for that 8 to 10 weeks. Now, the one thing I have done in lieu of the delay in the tower, I have put in a request to the 911 board for an extension for the grant. I requested a 6-month extension for that. They'll take it to their board whenever they meet the next time, and they'll get back to us. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, given the known problems the world is having with supply chain things. So that's really all I have for an update, but I'll be happy to answer whatever questions you might have.
John, anything?
No, none.
Bill?
Just a couple of questions. Curious where the generator will go.
Plan for now is to put it kind of in the flower bed back here.
And then the other question would be.
Sorry, John.
Would be, will this move take place after the generator's here? Will everything be in place, or?
And the plan for now, because the lead time on the generator was so long, was to go ahead and do the move and use the 40 kW generator that I have, and sort of as a temporary stopgap to just power the 911 center until we could get the big one in here. That, as of right now, is our intention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Carter, any comments?
I've got a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there anything else that you would like to build for the county that we haven't funded so that I can go plant flowers and get it done?
I would encourage you to review the proposed budget.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Okay, we'll get back on schedule under general business. Looks like April's up again with an amendment.
Yes, I do have a general fund budget amendment, and it is general fund budget amendment number 9, but the description is not for insurance reimbursement, so you have a correction in front of you. It's for Appalachian health funds received by the Recreation Department is what it should have read. It's for $12,000, just funds donated from the health department to help fund soccer equipment and disc golf course supplies.
Motion to approve.
He made a motion.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. Aye. Any opposed, same. Motion carries 4-0. Next.
Second thing I have is a line item transfer for the transfer facility. This is the enterprise fund. We had set $50,000 aside for facility improvements for this current fiscal year, but with the cost of disposal, we've had discussions before about the earthquake damaged homes. The board approved removal of some fire damaged structures out in Piney Creek. So that's where we are. We need to transfer that little bit of the $50,000 in the facility improvements for this current year. We need to transfer that to be able to get us through the end of the year for disposal wise, and I'm not sure that we're going to get through the end of the year for disposal. And Mr. Carter may want to add to that, or I can add to it, either way.
I'll be glad to add to that. As the board recalls back earlier, there was an exemption, I suppose, that was provided for the earthquake damage that has came into the transfer facility. And at that time, really wasn't an idea of how much debris that would entail. But as time has continued, so has that number. And I know David Spicer has the number, but in our rough calculations, it looks like by the end of this current fiscal year, that it's probably going to be north of over $100,000 of relief that's been provided. Now, I don't want to be mistaken in what I'm saying, though the intent was well taken. I would encourage the board to keep that in mind when there are considerations of waiving of tipping fees, because as I mentioned earlier, this is an enterprise zone fund. What's in it, you can spend it. It's not supplemented by the general fund. It is a bring in what you spend out fund. This is one of those examples that our expenditures, at least in this line, have exceeded what was identified. Because although we waive those tipping fees, the landfill that we take that material to does not. So we're continuing to pay that cost. It's $50,000 for the temporary tipping floor. I don't know if you call that a blessing or what. We haven't utilized that because we received no bids for that service. I mentioned a few moments ago we'll have to amend next year's budget to allow for that. That $50,000 comes off that fund balance that was in that fund. And I believe, April, we looked the other day and it was somewhere around $160,000 that we were projecting for that fund balance.
Correct, in the current fiscal year.
By doing this transfer, that's $50,000 off that $160,000. We don't know if this 50, I think you alluded to it, we may not get us through the year. It may be more that has to occur, which will essentially require you to tap into that fund balance even more. Your fund balance moving forward, and that is all audited, that is all, there's a threshold that they allow you to operate within, those numbers are all there, but they're in reality may not be much left in that fund balance by the end of this fiscal year, including the money that we need to put back in for the temporary tipping floor. So this is a situation that we've got to monitor very closely over the next couple of weeks to see where that's going to be. But it is a concern at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any comments, John, Michelle?
Yeah. These were waived for primarily earthquake damaged. Question would be, still currently state monies and folks working with trying to restore. So that process is still ongoing with the state. Wonder if we could ask if they might, if they have any funds left, that they might could help. Is that something we could utilize for this type of a fund?
We have. We've asked that question.
Okay.
Keep in mind, that wasn't included in the original thought process from the state also for the, I guess, the reimbursement of those tipping fees. So they are in uncharted water also. They can't tell us that we can get it. They can't tell us we can't. They can't tell us that if we do get it, it will be in this fiscal year, which is when the expenditures go out. So there's a lot of unknowns right there. I'm not saying it will not happen, but I can't guarantee it will, nor can I guarantee it would be received in the same fiscal year that it was expended. What I am saying is that we made that decision to waive those fees before that was even a consideration. That's what I want to.
Also, not recognizing
The
the
magnitude.
impact.
That's right, the magnitude.
You know, so but the request is, they have the request for that.
Yeah,
Okay.
for some time now. Yeah. And we're hopeful that that's some type of
Possibility,
resolution,
okay.
but
Well, I
we
mean,
can't
that's-
rely on it.
Well, I mean, all we can do is ask.
That's right.
But, you know, if we've got some other pockets to ask that might, they have worked with us very well, not to say what they've done in the past is going to reflect what they do in the future. I get that, so that's all.
Any other discussion?
Do you need approval to be able to
Motion to approve.
move the money?
We need a vote on that one.
Yes, yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Raise your right hand. Thank you. Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
Next item is Courthouse Committee. And I've got the minutes from that. The Courthouse Committee meeting was held April the 25th of 2022 at 3 o'clock in this room. Members present were the Honorable Judge Richard Doughton, Clerk of Court Susie Gamble, myself, Bobby Irwin, Commissioner John Irwin, County Manager Michael Carter, Public Works Director David Spicer, David Daniel was on the phone, and Assistant County Manager Drew Todd were present. County Manager Michael Carter said thoughts and needs have changed since the original courthouse renovation concept from 5 years ago. So the discussion was with David Daniel, and David Spicer had shared the challenges with the courthouse with him. He proposed his group to come and crawl around the courthouse, confirm and identify deficiencies, then create a list that may or not total $2 million. If not, then they can work on the suggestions from the clerk of court and from the judges. He explained their process will be to study the building now, identify improvements, then decide what else needs to be added for the clerk of court and for the operation to safely operate the facility. Susie Gamble said to use the money on structural problems first, was her suggestion. Commissioner John Irwin suggested installing conduit for fiber and wondered if the electrical could stand the future load with projection of different type of computers, anything else that would need additional electricity. Judge Doughton pointed out that we need to ask what the AOC, that's the Administrative Office of the Courts, would pay for. Commissioner John Irwin said, on the street side, the foundation from bank cutbacks is an issue as drainage is dumped straight onto the street. Commissioner Bobby Irwin said the cement steps, sidewalks to the courthouse steps, and the rock wall on the main entrance need attention. David Daniel said the courthouse out-of-service timeline can be determined after their site visit. He said it would certainly shorten the duration of the project by shutting down the building. So what they're saying is during the construction, that courtroom will not be able to be used for a undetermined period of time. And that will have to be coordinated with the judges, and then the utilization of the Doughton Annex building will have to come into play. Richard Doughton identified the hallway at the holding cell and a sally port as needing some priorities. Commissioner John Irwin said the Magan meter need to be replaced at the front. I guess that's when you walk through and
Metal
see if
detector,
you're
yeah.
carrying any weapons or whatever. I think that whole entrance needs to be worked out a little bit better, especially in the wintertime on those real cold days. Judge Doughton said he wanted the room configured so everyone could see each other, the judges, the clerk, the court reporter, and the witnesses. David Daniels said he would speak with the State Historic Preservation Office regarding the windows. Court schedules were discussed, and May the 12th through the 13th were agreed upon for the site visits. I believe they've already been here for that. David Daniels said the engineers would split up and look at the facility separately. Along with David, there would be electrical and mechanical engineers that would do the assessments and hopefully would only take one full day. A day would then be planned to have a sit-down or a phone meeting with David and the committee to review everything. This would also include the judges who could attend. This will be an opportunity for everyone to get the information at the same time and talk about anything else that would be pertinent to the project. David will be in touch with Drew to set up the next meeting once all schedules are planned and completed. This will take a little time, but would be expedited so we could move on the project as soon as possible. This is going to be a combination of the county, of the Courthouse Committee, but especially of the Sheriff's Department, the judges, and the Clerk of Court to get this fixed the way that we can best utilize the building that we're redoing. And there again, we could not do this without that $2 million investment that I guess it was Senator Ballard and Representative Stevens, and then a lot of the commissioners worked very hard to get that money. The jail cell that the sheriff is wanting to have restored and located back on the lawn of the courthouse was discussed. Judge Doughton asked if an alternative location could be found. The funding for the restoration was uncertain and would need to be seen, but to see if the TDA would pay for part of it through a grant. I assume that was a grant. We need constructions to see if the jail cell would be a hindrance to the construction project. I think David and Michael brought up, we don't want anything out in that yard that's going to hinder the work on the courthouse as it progresses. We have to have as much room as possible. The courthouse needs to be completed without delay, was agreed upon by everybody. The next meeting will be announced with no further business. The meeting was adjourned. And I'd like to thank everybody that attended that. There again, this is something that the more people are involved in, that everybody understands the process and has a option to put in what they think is needed at the jail or at the courthouse. Are there any questions about that? John, you were there. Do you have anything to add? No. Any questions, Michelle? Mark? Thank you. If now we'll move on to the consent agenda. Rita, the consent agenda is the process by where everything is already gone through the different committees. And if there's anything that any board member would like to pull out and talk about specifically, now's the time to do that. If not, we can approve the consent agenda as submitted. Any questions? John, Michelle, Mark? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Well, Mr.
Go
Chairman,
ahead.
on the request for waiver of solid waste fee, I don't see a recommendation there. I believe we'll need to make a motion on it. And I would move that we waive a fee.
What?
That we waive the fee for Mr. Red.
Solid waste.
Solid waste.
On the solid waste part.
Yeah.
Right here,
Yeah.
page 11.
The removal of the fee on the Robert Reed, what is your understanding of the request?
I would recommend that that be released. It appears that there's been a tree fallen on the camper. It's a $500 value camper that he's not been able to use in several years. So I would approve that.
That's her request. That's part of the consent agenda. So we can just approve the whole thing at one time.
Very well. I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda, Mr. Chair.
I need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any questions? All those,
I would just
Go ahead.
clarify, that's going with the recommendation of the head.
as part of the consent agenda, yes. That's Rita's recommendation.
All right.
Yes, that's fine. Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All those opposed, the same. The motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
That brings us to the county manager comment section.
Just a couple, all of these are included in your packet. You have your applied resource management report. Basically, that report tells you that your monitoring wells are doing what they're supposed to. So that's a good thing. You have your Daymark annual report, which I encourage you to review. And you have your March and April building inspection report, which I would also encourage you to review. Other than that, I have no other comments, Mr. Chairman.
That's it. Let's go with that, with county manager's comments. Heather, do you have anything to add?
One thing I will add is in regards to, there was a lot of back and forth and speculation in regards to the board's ability to be able to vote for nonprofit boards, to fund them through the commissioners' votes, to fund the nonprofit boards where you also served as a board member. And we got some clarification in regards to that. One of the things that I didn't actually email to you, which clarifies what I did send to you, was that under section, it's statute 14-234.3, on that one, specifically in section B, it does say that you would not be guilty of a class 1 misdemeanor because you are accepted under what I did send you, that one section I sent you, because you look at it and you're like, well, wait a minute, I don't know if that, does that really apply? But it does. So there's two clarifications on that. So that original session law that got put into place and became law in January, you're covered under it. However, you're exempted because of the number of citizens within the county and within the town, and you're not guilty of a class 1 misdemeanor if you vote on that, even though you are on also the nonprofit board. So we're good, we're covered, and there's no issues with that. Further, you can vote on the budget with the boards that you serve on.
The long and the short of it is, we're okay to proceed like we have been, and we do not have to resign from any 501(c)(3)s.
You do not, even with the new law.
Thank you. John, do you have any questions on that one? Michelle? Mark? If not, we'll go to the county commissioner's comments, and we'll start with John.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to remind everyone that beginning today, this is EMS week. For those of you that haven't had the privilege of riding in the ambulance and having those folks show up, they are a blessing whenever they do show up, believe me. Scary times, but they get out there. It is a challenge for them, a tremendous amount of burnout. They see a lot of things that normal citizens do not see. Thank God that they are willing to do this job, period. Well, primary voting is underway. Bobby and I can tell you that the privilege of voting is not free. It's one that has been paid for with blood, sweat, and tears. Don't care how you vote, just vote. If you do not vote, you give up your right to complain about the government you get, because you get the government you vote in this country. You don't get it from the point of a gun. One of the items that will be on the ballot for this primary voting is the quarter-cent sales tax. As Bobby has said, we have decisions to be made. One of the things that probably passed over your head, because, I mean, this is about like watching paint dry, is we are down $40,000 in the sales tax revenue. And I could give you a very simple explanation. During COVID, everybody ordered from Prime. You went to Amazon. We got the tax money. Now you're running down to Wilkesboro, Surrey County, Elkin, and you're buying your items there. Guess what? You're paying 7%. That quarter-cent sales tax that we are trying to get into the county is in effect there. You pay it there, you don't say a daggone thing. Well, you're not ordering from Amazon Prime now, and we are not collecting the money. So one of these days, the county manager is going to look us in the eye, and he's going to say, I'm sorry, revenues are not there, we're going to have to go up on property tax. You don't want us to go up on property tax, yet you do not vote for a quarter-cent sales tax that does not apply to processed foods. Your groceries are not going to be taxed. But if someone is traveling through the county, they stop, get a hamburger, they are going to be paying that quarter-cent sales tax. So not all the money is going to come out of the citizens' pockets. So please take that into consideration. Now, as far as Mr. Hendrick's comments, one thing that we are told very early in life as a county commissioner, when one word is spoken, we shut up. That one word is lawyer. It was not used by us. It was used by the Lions Club, and we shut up. Not only that, our learned attorney is in conference with the officials of the Lions Club. I did speak with them, but it was on a totally different subject on the plaque. And whenever the subject came up that we are under restraint from, we shut up. So often the membership does not know what's going on behind closed doors, and that is through necessity. And that should be realized, and it should be communicated. Unfortunately, not all the time does that happen. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Michelle?
I would like to also speak about the Lions Club and just say that, there was some discussion or allegations that we were going to evict the club and put the 911 center in there. When we started talking about a new 911 center, our county manager just simply presented to us all the buildings that are owned by the county, and those names were thrown out there. I don't think that we ever seriously considered, I know that we never seriously considered evicting the Lions Club from the Lions Club Pavilion. So this is an example of, I believe, what social media can do and rumors, and I would just suggest to everyone that they seek facts before they let the rumor mill run wild with them. I want to say thank you to the Budget Committee. A lot of hard work went in to that. And again, get out and vote on the sales tax. Get out and vote on the primary. You've got a very limited time left to do that. There's been some questions about the Recreation Committee since Cole resigned. To the best of my understanding, all the programs will continue. The Little League is getting ready to get started up. The soccer, all the kids' programs are still going to be available for the children this year. We have an assistant rec director, and I'm sure that he has everything well in hand. I want to wish Commissioner Osborne that he feels better soon and will be back with us, and we're thinking about him. And I had the privilege of attending the Allegheny High School graduation Friday evening, and I would like to say congratulations to the class of 2022. The future seems to be pretty bright. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to just say that as a member of this board for about 7 and roughly a half years, I have never participated in a secret meeting that was spoken behind that podium earlier. Every meeting that I've been to has been documented, has been published, has been legal or what have you, and there's a record of all of that. And I have never turned down a response to someone who has approached me at an adult level with conversation that wants to find out my position or reasoning on anything. But I will not respond to childish, false, accusatorial, slander, accusations that I have received, and I won't from anybody. But I'll sit down and have an adult conversation to the best of my ability with anybody that asks. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I've got a couple of quick things. That Monday, May the 30th is Memorial Day. We will hold our ceremony at the Veterans Park. It will start at 11 a.m. If it does rain, we will move to the VFW building. For David, you know the routine, what we've got to do. Bathrooms open, gates open. I've talked to Mayor West, and he will handle the traffic. The VFW will probably start setting up around 9 a.m. with the chairs, getting some spaces blocked off. There's usually enough parking for everyone in the parking lot or on the side street. If not, the back gate will be open. People can park across the parkway at the trust place, but just stay out of the way of their vehicles. And I hope we can have a good turnout. The Charters of Freedom, they're about 85% done. You can view most of it. The brickwork will be done here in the next few weeks, we're hoping, with the weather breaking. About Michelle's comment about the high school graduation, I'm glad that it was outside. I think her and Bill attended. I was babysitting my wife and my mother, and John was out of town at a Marine Corps function down on the coast. Mark was finishing up working. But we had a good representation, and all of those graduates, if you want to look at Wilkes Community College, you can go there tuition free for our semesters. You just need to talk to either Dr. Cox or the admission people in Wilkes. About the Lions Club, this issue has been around for quite a while. There's been a lot of misconceptions. That happens, I think, when one group starts talking about another group. The facts are not always projected as being facts. People take ownership of something and it's hard to let go. The Lions Club has been nothing but a plus for the county of Allegheny County. But I just wish that more Lions Club members would attend our commissioners' meetings so they can hear firsthand what the commissioners say and what our intentions are. I've never heard the word that they would be thrown out, displaced, evicted. That has never come from me, and as far as I know, it's never come from any commissioner. Our thoughts have always been for the Lions Club to stay where they are as long as they're a functioning unit. All of this was brought about by cleaning up some legal issues and liability issues and insurance issues. And most of the Lions Club people that I talk to personally, they understand. They're business people. They have to have contracts when they do business. They have to have insurance when they do business. So the only thing this group of commissioners, what we're trying to do is work with the Lions Club. We've never tried to work against the Lions Club. We want them to stay and prosper. And with that, I would ask if Mr. Carter has any last words, if Ms. Klein has any last words.
Don't forget your cupcake.
Somebody's been eating on mine. The cupcakes were delicious. I think Brenda can attest to that. If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
And a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. We are officially closed.